News 6. This week the program was produced by the 6th grade class of room 122 at Krout Elementary in Tiffin. With our first story about our school, here's Keith.
C.A. Krout School was built in 1957 and named after a very special man. Mr. Krout was 95 years old at the time of the dedication of our building, and he participated in the ceremonies. He lived to be 104 and took an active interest in schools all his life. His son, Dr. John Allen Krout, told News 6 about the teacher who was his father.
What qualities made him so important to education of boys and girls in Tiffin?
Well, one thing was he had been here so long. He came to Tiffin in 1890 as principal of Columbian High School, and he served as principal for 10 years. Then he became superintendent of the Tiffin Public Schools, and he was superintendent for 31 years. And he was very proud of the fact that during the period he was superintendent, every spring he went to every building and heard every boy and girl read, so that he knew they could read at the level that they ought to be at the grade they were in at that time.
Dr. Krout said that his father felt that kids today are just the same as they were when he started teaching school in 1890. The only big difference is that these days school children cannot be spanked. We at Krout School are very proud of the man for whom we're named, and we're also proud of the school itself. One of the more fun things we do at Krout is crab soccer. It is not the usual gym activity like basketball or gymnastics. We use a crab ball, which is a very large canvas ball. A team will sit on scooters and try to kick the ball over the heads of their opponents and thus score a point. The team on scooters can only use their feet to kick the ball over, while the other class members must just use their hands to try and toss the ball over the scooter team's head. With a little more school news, here's Jim.
Our school held a contest to adopt a mascot, and 5th grader Katie Smith was the winner with their Krout Kids emblem and goat insignia. 6th grader Greg Lupton has provided the mascot in Petunia, the goat. Greg got Petunia when she was young from a goat farm. She is now 5 years old. Greg feeds her corn, oats, and salt, but she also loves grass, tree leaves, and carrots. Greg keeps her on a leash and usually ties her to a post. We now have red sweatshirts with Petunia on the front. Other school happenings include parents as well as kids, and here's Lynn with that story.
There's a special organization at our school that does activities to benefit Krout and the children who attend it. Last year, the organization sold T-shirts, had a carnival, sold greens at Christmas time, put on a variety show, and staged bake sales. This group is the parent-teacher organization, and President Mrs. Karen Schwingle explains its purpose.
We have a PTO at Krout School because this is beneficial both to the teachers, the parents, and the students. Our aim is to work together for one major concern.
This year, the organization has bought gym equipment, like the scooters used in our crab soccer game, supported the school levies, and plans to initiate a soccer program. One other activity of the PTO this year has been to talk to our city government about fixing the Ella Street Bridge. Many of the children attending Krout School must cross the bridge, and it is unsafe. There is only one sidewalk, one of the barriers has been knocked down, and the concrete is falling out in places. News 6 talked with Tiffin Mayor Yeager about the situation. He told us that the city has decided to fix the bridge, but there are some problems.
There'll be maybe some temporary problems, though, while the new bridge is being built. You won't be able to get through there at all. We don't know how long that's going to happen, and it's going to be up to the school board to decide what they'll do, how they'll handle that problem. As soon as we know when the bridge is going to be built, we'll notify the school board, and they'll have to decide whether they're going to try to provide some transportation or consider transferring the students temporarily to another school, or exactly what they'll do.
The school's PTO is concerned not only with children's walking safety, but with their riding safety as well. The organization sponsors a bike safety program every year, and this year it was April 29th. Mrs. Zimmerman and Mrs. Alfred were in charge of it this year. Everyone rode their bikes to school that Saturday and had to pass certain tests to prove that their bike worked well and that the riders knew the safety rules. First, riders must go through an obstacle course of cones. Then they must ride a straight line between two tape marks. Riders are also tested on their knowledge of hand signals. The bikes are checked to make sure the brakes work. Anything found wrong with any bike is fixed right there. If a rider passes, he receives a sticker. Then he rides his bike safely home.
Our next story includes all 3 segments of the show. For Eugene Schoen used to be a student at our school, and now he's a member of our music community. Eugene plays the violin, and at 14 years of age is far ahead of most of his contemporaries in the field. Eugene started playing the violin when he was 6, and he still practices 3 or 4 hours a day. Currently, he's taking lessons at the Cleveland Institute of Music, and he plays with Heidelberg College Orchestra. Eugene has played a little bit of music for News 6. Thank you for joining us on News 6 this week. It was brought to you by a 6th grade class of Miss Susan Slemmer in room 122 at Krout Elementary in Tiffin. Next week, News 6 will be presented by the 6th grade at St. Mary's School in Van Wert. Have a great week.
The preceding program is made possible in part by a grant from the Northwest Ohio Educational Television Foundation. This is Channel 57, WBGU-TV.